What's up guys, Lon here from Android Authority, and if you've been a long-time Moto X user like I have, then you most likely already know exactly what to expect with the Moto X Pure Edition or the Moto X Style. But if this is your first time using a Moto X, then you're probably going to want to know a little bit more about how to use it. This is tips and tricks for your Moto X. So we already know that the Moto X Pure Edition and the Moto X's from previous years are running a basically stock version of Android, with the exception of a handful of really useful custom features from Motorola. So naturally, a lot of these tips and tricks are going to revolve around those Motorola features. We're going to start off with the display. The Moto X Pure Edition has a large, bright, beautiful 5.7-inch Quad HD display, and even though Motorola made the switch to a TFT LCD this year, the screen is surprisingly vibrant and saturated. But if you don't like that, you can actually change it, and it's very easy to do. Just jump into settings by either opening up the app or using the shortcut in the notification shade. Tap on display and then select color mode. From here you'll notice that it defaults to a vibrant setting for enhanced color and saturation, but switching it to normal will give you a more natural look and a much flatter image if that's what you're looking for. Tip number 2 is creating a custom key phrase for Moto Voice, and if you don't already know, Moto Voice is an always-on listening feature that lets you dictate voice commands from anywhere even when the phone is asleep. Creating a custom key phrase not only lets you create something that is unique and different from everyone else, but it also makes it harder for other people to trigger your Moto X. To create a custom phrase, just open up the Moto application, go to Voice, tap on Manage Launch Phrase, and select Change or Improve Launch Phrase. From here, just follow the on-screen prompts to record your custom phrase, which it'll ask you to repeat 3 times over. Just make sure you're in a quiet room and that you speak normally so that it can properly capture your voice. It should take only a minute or 2 tops, but once you are done, you can immediately start using your own custom launch phrase. Next up is Moto Actions, and Moto Actions are all gesture-based controls that you can do to activate certain functions of the phone, and you can turn them all off within the Moto app if you'd like, but I would suggest leaving them all on because they're all extremely useful. You can do things like wave your hand over the front of the phone to wake up the display, to see any notifications you might have without having to touch the phone, chop twice to turn on the camera flash, and my personal favorite, double twisting your wrist to quickly launch into the camera, which can really come in handy if you take a lot of photos. Finally, if you put the phone to your ear, this will discreetly activate Moto Voice and will respond to your command or question through the earpiece instead of blasting it through the speakers in order to not disturb others. Another really cool feature from Motorola is called Moto Assist, which can do various things like read your text messages out loud when you're driving, tell you who's calling, or stay completely quiet when you're sleeping or in a meeting. Setting it up is super simple and easy to do. Once you're in the Assist section of the Moto app, just hit the plus button in the corner and select which activity you want to add, whether it be driving, meeting, or sleeping, and you can even add a location to have the phone automatically trigger your activity. So for example, if you add one for meeting, you can add the location of your job so that when you walk into work, it'll instantly put your phone into meeting mode and you won't be disturbed. Tip number 5 is attentive display, and if you've ever been reading a web page or an article and get annoyed by the screen constantly dimming while you're in the middle of reading it, then this feature is for you. It's pretty simple, just go into settings and under the display section you'll find attentive display. To make sure the screen stays on when you're looking at it, make sure that box is checked, and if you want the screen to sleep sooner when you're not looking at it, you can check that box as well. But once you have this feature enabled, you'll never have to deal with the screen timing out before you want it to ever again. Next up, let's talk about audio. The Moto X Pure Edition has some of the best front-facing speakers on a smartphone right now, and the default out-of-the-box settings are already pretty good as is, but if you want a little bit extra bass, treble, or just a more balanced sound overall, you can easily tweak it in the settings. Under settings, just go to sound and notification, and right at the top select audio effects. From here you can select different equalizers, and by default it's on bass punch, but if you want even more bass you can set it to extreme bass, or conversely if you'd rather have a bigger emphasis on treble, you can set it to brilliant treble. There's also a balance setting which will give you the most even sound possible, and vocalizer if you want more emphasis on the vocals, and finally you have the option to turn the equalizer off entirely, which I don't recommend doing. If you're more of a headphones type of person, there's audio profiles that you can select from like 3D stereo, home theater, and live stage, or you can create your own to perfectly tailor the audio to your ears. Our final tip has to do with the camera and how to control focus and exposure. Motorola made quite a bit of improvements to the camera on the hardware side of things, but the software still leaves a lot to be desired in terms of manual controls, and by default there isn't much you can do except aim and tap on the viewfinder to shoot. To enable focus and exposure control, just swipe inwards from the left side to reveal the control wheel and tap on the icon that looks like a hand with a square bracket. Once enabled, you can change the focus point by dragging the green circle anywhere on the screen and also dial in the exposure. This still pales in comparison to full-on manual controls from other smartphone cameras on the market, but turning this feature on will at least allow you to get the most out of your Moto X's camera. And there you have it, guys. This has been tips and tricks for your Moto X Pure Edition. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. We definitely appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel, which is also down below if you haven't already. And if you want to see more here from us at Android Authority, make sure to check out the links on the side, and also check out the website as well for more in-depth coverage, androidauthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.